Hello, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, women, children, and men all alike. Welcome to the second night of Austin Bryant's Christmas Countdown. Tonight, we're going to be telling a story about the real origin of one of Charles Dickens's plays, The Christmas Carol. So stay tuned. You're in for a real treat. The real story of Ebenezer Scrooge. Most of you, when you hear the name Scrooge, you automatically think of the Christmas Carol and the ghosts of the past, present, and future. But there's more to it than that. For you see, Scrooge was very sadistic, and he enjoyed torturing. He lived alone, and he never talked to anyone. Hell, he never left his house. He had a basement, and that's where all of his torturings took place. People always thought that no one lived in Scrooge's house, but Scrooge did. Small, prepubescent children of 10 often dared one another to go inside the house, for they believed it was haunted. Kids have done it, but they have never come out alive. Scrooge never had anyone to love, or had anyone to love him, so he grew up in a house with an abusive father, an extremely Catholic mother, and brothers that would molest and rape him. Scrooge's mother died at a young age, which left him vulnerable to unrelenting beatings and molestation from his brothers. As he grew up, he grew to not care for anyone and go as far as attempting physical harm on his classmates. Since he was always a small, scrawny kid, Scrooge would often get picked on and beaten up repeatedly by classmates he saw every day. He dropped out of school at 17, promising to kill 3 fellow bullies who would never stop beating him up. Years later, he killed his 2 brothers and his dad, and claimed the house. Scrooge often thought about his early life, and, being as sadistic as he is, pleasured himself to it. He did this for almost a year before deciding he needed more. Scrooge crafted his torture chamber for years. Each year he would test at least 10 unfortunate individuals. Once it was finally finished, Scrooge decided he would get his revenge. He created 3 disguises, one representing the past, one representing his present, and one representing the future Scrooge. It was Christmas Eve one night, the night Scrooge carefully picked his revenge. He set out, the first time he ever left his house since the homicides of his brothers and father. It was a frigid night, but Scrooge was too excited to worry about cold. He walked, with hate and revenge glittering in his eyes. He walked and walked, never tiring. He hadn't seen his enemies in years, but he knew exactly where they lived. He had dressed up in his past costume, featuring himself as a young boy, haunted by the nightmares of his past. Eventually, Scrooge reached his first enemy's door. Knocking on the door, he waited. Finally, his first victim opened the door, screaming, "What do you want?" Scrooge just looked at him with helpless eyes. "I'm so helpless," Scrooge replied. "I just want someone to stay with for tonight." "Go away!" Scrooge's enemy shouted and proceeded to slam the door, but before he could do so, Scrooge took his arm and yanked him outside with almost superhuman strength. Scrooge tackled the man and gave him blow after blow. His fists were covered in blood, but he didn't care. After over 50 blows, Scrooge got up. Below him lay a bloody corpse of his former enemy, face bashed in and oozing blood and brain. Scrooge took off his disguise and went to the next house. His next destination was a rundown farmhouse in the middle of nowhere. When he got there, Scrooge just let himself in, even though there was a parked carriage nearby. Inside, a dark corridor greeted Scrooge. He walked down it into a kitchen, where the next man sat, passed out drunk with his head on the table. A single candle burned, allowing a soft glow to touch the drunk man's face. Scrooge quietly started forward and grabbing a pistol that lay on the floor a few feet away. When checking the barrel, Scrooge found one single bullet inside. He aimed carefully. Scrooge pulled the trigger on the drunk man's head. The impact of the bullet sent chunks of bloody brain, bone, and eye across the room at the wall. 2 down, 1 to go, Scrooge thought. With that, he went to the local cemetery. He found his last victim here, tombstone reading, "Here lies the body of a wretched man who made lives miserable and hated everyone." Scrooge took the tombstone, ripped it out of the ground. He threw it on the ground. He dug in the ground. His Grim Reaper disguise wavered in the wind. He was finally able to find and open the lid of the casket. He was surprised at what he saw, for he did not at all expect it.